Hello, I'm back to play more LOK Digital. In the previous episode, I went over the basic mechanics of this game. I'll go over them in short here. We've got a couple words we've got a board that we want to turn completely white to completely black. To turn it black, we spell out words like tlack and lock. Tlack will give us 2 wildcards to place wherever we want on the board. Lock will only give us 1 of them. If we have any black tiles, we can spell words through them to be able to complete the board. I went through World 1 and World 2 last time, and I am now moving on to World 3. We learned lock in World 1, we learned tlack in World 2. I'm assuming that this is going to let us, or it's going to teach us a new word. Learn a new word. So AA doesn't seem like a word. Ta feels like the correct one. And then the only place that we can put our guy is A. So I talked a little bit about like puzzle design in my previous episode. This is a perfect setup for how you teach a player a new mechanic. You don't give them like, this is what this word does. At the beginning of the game, sure, because they need some kind of basis for what they should be doing. But now that you know that you need to turn a whiteboard into a blackboard, and you do that by spelling letters and placing down little creatures, the only word that you can make is ta right here. The only place that you can place something down is the A's. So you're learning that ta is a new word, and you're learning that it is hitting the A's after 1 click. So you can then extrapolate and see that, oh, they're going to hit each of those letters across the entire board. Okay, so I'm going to spell this ta first and get rid of an E so that it doesn't ruin me from spelling out the next ta by getting rid of either the T's or the A's. And then when I spell this ta, I can get rid of this T over here. So it starts with a simple puzzle, and then it goes a little bit harder, but still simple, and it's going to continue ramping up in difficulty very, very slowly. So, like before, we can use ta's to blacken an area to be able to spell a ta through that darkened area. And previously, I had played World 1, and then I went to record World 2 and 3. My microphone didn't work, so I've already played this world. I have solved the puzzles in basically the same amount of time, my first run around, but I've had a bit more time to digest just how good of puzzle design this game is. I really wanted salsa to be a word here. It's just maybe a bit of dyslexia, probably not. It's just so close, man. So a ta here will allow us to spell a lock, one of our words from before, through the darkened area, and then get rid of the last A. So it's easing you into, hey, you've been working with ta for a bit, let's work with lock again, see how that works. So ta here, I can use it to get rid of the E's or the T's or the L's. This right here is teaching you that blank boxes are also considered like 1, if that makes sense. Like hitting the E's, they're considered 1. Hitting the L's, they're considered like 1 type of object for ta. So then if I hit those 2 objects, I'm then able to spell this ta through them, so that begets me having to play this E here to spell this ta through it and get rid of the last one. Alright, so the previous words that we had were lock and tlack. So I'm seeing a tlack up here that I want to be able to play, and I'm seeing a lock down here that I want to play. Now, there's a couple options with this lock. I can either play it on this L to be able to get a ta right away, but if I do so, this tlack that I spell, now I can't use both of these guys, and I can't complete that action, so it doesn't blacken out the entire board. This is like, what is it? Like, it's kind of ambiguous whether or not the game would or wouldn't allow you to do this, but bringing it up in a base case example like this compared to in the heat of the moment when you've solved like a really big puzzle and you're like, oh, I'm 1 step away from doing it, but I feel like gypped out of the correct answer because I have some extra guys and the game didn't communicate that to me clearly. It is getting rid of that ambiguity early on with a simple case. This is that simple case. Kind of nice. So I can't play this ta right away because there's no other way for me to blacken out the rest of the board. So that means that this wild card needs to go somewhere else. It can't go on the L. So I could play it on this to be able to create my tlack. And then if I do so, I can make my ta down here below, but then I can't get rid of this T either. So we have to solve it in a different way. If I play this lock, I can play, how did I do this again? Right, so instead of making this tlack up top here, because this is what your eyes are drawn to, you're reading it left to right, like you would anything else, you have to read the game vertically. You can make a ta through here to then be able to get rid of all of the white space, to then make a tlack to get rid of the TL at the bottom here. All right, we've got some letters that we've never seen before or that we can't spell with. F, E, and D. So these guys are going to have to be wildcarded to be removed at some point. So I see a lock down here at the bottom, I see a tlack through here, and I see a TA down here. So I'm thinking if I lock to get rid of this L, I can make a ta to be able to get rid of the E's, and I can make a tlack to get rid of the FD. This is a level that I mostly felt out. I didn't know rigorously that that was going to work, but it felt like a correct line. I wanted to make a lock, I wanted to make a tlack, and that gives me the option to make a ta. If it went differently, if I ran into some kind of brick wall, I would just go back to the drawing board and try a different permutation from the beginning. So I'm seeing a tlack down here, I'm seeing a lock here, and I'm seeing a TA right here. So if I make this lock, then I can make the ta afterwards. The ta is going to get rid of all of the O's. The tlack is going to get rid of the stuff around the outside of the lock. Mostly just saying, hey, expect to see all three of these words in conjunction eventually. Now, let's say I wanted to make a tlack through here. I can't without making a ta first, which I guess I can do. But if I make a ta, I'm going to have to get rid of either A's, K's, L's, or I could get rid of an O if I wanted to. So if I make a tlack here, I can get rid of those two. And now this is teaching you another new thing about the game. Well, it's not guaranteed that you run into this, like how the previous level, it wasn't guaranteed that you're going to run into what happens if I have some amount of my guys left over to paint with. I've turned all the squares black on this board, but I haven't finalized this action. I haven't found a home for these guys to paint squares with yet. So this isn't considered a valid solution. So you have to go back to the drawing board. We learned earlier that there is parity in puzzles. Not exactly, it's not the correct word for it, but if I have a tlack here that is taking up 4 spaces and I'm painting 2 of them for 6 total. If I spell out lock, hold on, let me just do a ta to be able to show you visibly. If I spell out this lock, I'm making a word out of 3 blocks and I'm painting a 4th one. So there's a difference of 6 to 4. There's 2 blocks difference. If I have 2 extra painters at the end with the ta into painting an O into 2 tlacks, this solution, I have 2 guys left at the end. That means that I have to turn one of my tlacks into a lock instead to be able to solve the level. So let's figure out how we could get a lock. So this ta at the very beginning seems like a pretty good option because then we're going to be able to make this lock. But the ta, it can't paint the O because that gets rid of the lock. Can't paint any of the L's, the K's. It could paint an A, but then I don't have enough, painters after making this lock. So with my entire state space expunged, I cannot play a lock, so there has to be a different solution. Maybe I play 2 tas instead. And there are a lot of A's on this map, so let's run under that assumption. If I want to make as many tas as possible, I can paint this line down here, and then I can paint TA through here. Or, sorry, I'd paint this TA, I'd paint this TA, and I would, I would make words with all of these TAs. So this is my first move, and then to make my second one, I have to get rid of the L's. To make my second one, I have to get rid of all of the K's or the O's, and I have to get rid of the O at the very end. That works. All right, I'm seeing a ta here, and I'm seeing a ta here. Now, from the previous level, I might be primed to just play as many tas as possible, but there is no way for me to paint all of the squares if I do that. So we have to find a way to either fit in a tlack or a lock. But this can kind of get you thinking that, hey, I've only got 4 squares left. Maybe if I play a lock first, that's going to get rid of all of the squares that I need to. So let's try playing this lock, then hitting maybe this K, which will leave only this ta to hit the O and this ta to hit the L's. Oh, there's a bunch of A's left over and I'm not allowed to hit A's earlier. So I've got 2 locks here. If I hit the lock on this A to be able to spell the other lock to hit this A, that also doesn't work. Interesting. I cannot remember the solution to this puzzle, so I'm gonna take it slower. If I play this lock, I can get rid of this O. This tlack can get rid of 2 A's, but then I don't have anywhere to paint my last ta. So, how could we sneak this lock usage underneath a different usage? So, if I am playing this lock, I get rid of an A. I can play a ta to get rid of the L's. Or, hold on, a ta to get rid of this A down here, and then play a lock to get rid of this T. Okay, more of a feel out the level than actually solve it rigorously, but that happens, that happens. So I'm seeing a tlack up here, I'm seeing a lock here, and I'm seeing nothing else that I can play as, or play my first words as. Yeah, it's these 3 tlacks and that lock, which means one of these has to be my first move. Now, I did find this out last time. These tiles are considered adjacent to each other. So void space is considered like a blacked out tile. You can play over top of them. Can't remember what I did last time, but I'm going to feel it out after playing this tlack at the very beginning here, just because it feels like a cool move. Like I want to like play that. If I play a lock here, I do not have enough space for my tas, so it seems like tlack gets rid of too many of the letters on the board. Maybe starting it with lock is a better idea. I would like to play a ta, a ta somewhere, so I can either start up here or I can start down below. I'm gonna start down below, see where that leads me. Now I need to get rid of the L's to be able to play my next ta. Now I need to get rid of the K's to be able to play my next ta, but now I'm stuck in a corner. So this lock that I played at the very beginning, I got rid of an L when I did so. Is there any difference that I can make here? Let's say that instead of playing the ta right away, I play a tlack like this. What can I get rid of for letters? Well, I could get rid of these 2, and the tlack here puts me at 1 extra, so that doesn't work. If I don't paint this one, I paint the one up top instead to allow a ta up here and a tlack down below. Does that change anything? I'm seeing a TA here, which means that, no, still too many letters left by the end of things. So I wonder if the lock is even able to be played at the beginning, or if I need to play a tlack to start it out. Let's try this. And the ta here to get rid of the K's and L's at the same time. That doesn't work out. If I get rid of these 2, can then I play this lock to make a ta anywhere? No. So I don't want to get rid of these 2, because this lock could make a ta. No, because then I'm in the same situation of playing a lock and a tlack into a ta. That doesn't work. I remember this one giving me troubles before, and it's probably just that I'm running into the same pitfall that I did last time. So I can come back to the level later. I don't need to get hung up on it. I will be finishing this before I move on to the next world, but let's try the more quote-unquote difficult levels. Letters that we don't have in our vocabulary are the U and I. They're sticking out to me at the very beginning of the puzzle. So let's try solving, or we need to play our wildcards here. So I need to get rid of most of the letters here by spelling lock and tlack at some point. I'm seeing a ta that I could play at the beginning, which would allow me to play a tlack afterwards, and then a lock backwards through it, which gives me like a bunch of wildcards to work with. So when I play this ta, I can get rid of either the U's or the I's. I'm going to get rid of the U's, so when I play this tlack right afterwards, I can get rid of the I's. Because if I were to play it on the I's, there's no way for me to branch a tlack into these 2 U's. And I play a lock to finish the level. Alright, seems like there's a new letter here. C's. Yeah, C's. Okay. I'm thinking tlack is in like track, and I'm instinctively putting the C behind a K, but that's not how this works. Alright, I'm seeing a lot of tas, and those are pretty powerful, so let's start by just playing a bunch of them to see where that leads us. We might want to play them after a lock or 2. I'm seeing lock number 1, I'm seeing lock number 2, but this lock number 2 would not allow me to play both tas. And there's no way that I can play tlax anywhere. It's just tas and locks, right? Yes. So how would I play the tas in an order that allows me to play all of the locks? So I can't start by playing any of the locks. They're all gated behind C's, which makes me think that playing a ta at the very beginning and getting rid of C's is like the best option for me. Now, I only have lock number 1 and lock number 2. There are no other locks that I can play. So now it's just like a guessing game of what order do I play them in. If I play this lock here, how do I play the taws afterwards? I don't want to get rid of the A's. I don't want to get rid of the T's. Okay, so if I play this lock, you can see that I have K's left to get rid of, L's left to get rid of, and O's left to get rid of. 3 different types of letters. I have 2 taws remaining, which means that I can expunge 2 of these guys completely. So if I get rid of the O, now I only have 2 guys left, or 2 sets left to get rid of. That's the solution to the puzzle. All right, we're seeing M's, J's, and D's that haven't been in any of the words so far. I'm seeing a taw here, and I'm seeing 2 tlacks through that taw afterwards, and a lock through all of them at the end of it. So I think those are like the words that I get to play with. Now we just need to figure out a way through the puzzle. Let's say I play it on M's first, and I play the lock afterwards. I'll play the tlacks because those are harder to fit in. One of the tlacks I want to fit on the JD, so I will play a lock like before putting them there. But let me put the tlack down on the 2 in the corner here. Then I'm going to play this lock to be able to allow myself to play this tlack through these 2. Now you'll see that I have 1 left over at the very end. How do I make up this difference? Well, at the very beginning, I played a taw on the M's here, which are they're 2 in number. I could play them on the J's or the K's or the D's to get 3 in number instead, or the L's, I guess. But I don't want to play it on the L's or the K's because those are part of my tlacks and locks, so it has to be J's or D's. Now, which one do I choose? I'll just start with J and see what works. Let's make this lock, and now I can see that this guy right here is going to be left over at the end. Like, what is it? There's no way that I can play a tlack on this and a second adjacent one without getting rid of one of my tlack spots. And now I'm seeing that there's no way for me. Oh, there is a way for me to get these 2 D's, but no way for me to get this D and M at the end of it. And there's no way that I can branch across here because that's just going to get rid of my, black spots in the future. So it looks like J's weren't the way to go. Let's go with D's next and try that. So this tlack, after I make it, now strands this M down below. So let's put our 1 wildcard down there and fill out the rest of the board after we've done that. There we go, board solved. Now, it's time to go back to the hardest puzzle of the world, puzzle 11. It's, again, probably just something that I'm overlooking. Well, it has to be something that I'm overlooking, right? There's a solution to the puzzle, I'm just not seeing it, and it might be staring me down in the face because it's one of the easier ones, or well, there's a multitude of reasons. If I do a taw early, can I get rid of something like the A's and then use a lock to get rid of the rest? No. Hold on, the tlack here can get rid of these 2. No, it can get rid of these 2? And then I've got a tlack to get rid of 2. I want a taw at the end to get rid of a bunch of K's. I feel like it has to be 2 taws because the tlacks always feel like I'm getting rid of some letters, but like they're never close enough beside each other to be able to get rid of enough so that a taw can hit the remaining. So if I'm playing under the assumption that I'm making 2 taws, let's play this tlack at the bottom first. Taw 1, and that doesn't save enough for taw 2. So that would mean that I'd play this tlack, and to make sure that I can play 2 taws, I'd play them 2 there. But then I can't get this L anymore. So what if I play this tlack up top to be able to get rid of the O in the middle? That changes things. Then I can play this taw here to get rid of the K's. But before getting rid of the K's, let's get rid of the L's so that I can play this taw on this set of K's. There we go. That is another world complete. I look forward to playing more and seeing you guys in the next video. One last thing. We've got to finish the board here. I'm only seeing taws available for play. There we go. Now the world is complete. See you guys around.